Okay, in this video today, we're going to talk about how we can take a search term report on your Google Ads account If you're not doing ads yet, this is something you could definitely do a little bit further down the line. It's not a foot in the door strategy, which we have. I got plenty of other videos to talk about that. I just made a video actually about how to take $100 and turn it into a multi-million-dollar a year account, making a sale on your first $100. But what this is for you guys and gals out there that are already running ads on Google, this could also apply to Bing. How to take that, what they call a search terms report, which I'll clarify what that is in a moment if you aren't quite 100% sure what that is, and how you can use that actual report, i.e. feature of the ad platform that Google or i.e. Bing is giving you to make up to literally $1 million+ a year in top line revenue. So this isn't clickbait. I actually have case studies on this video that I'm going to go over where I'm using this exact strategy, how much we're making. And with that, the type of businesses that it works better for, even though I will admit that this literally will work for any business. It's just certain businesses I use it more than others because of how certain strategies just work inherently a little bit better for different type of businesses, but everything has its use, and pretty much everything that you do when you do lots of PPC like I do here for lots of different clients. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the background of what the search terms report is, how you use it, what most people use it for, and then going a step further, how I use it and the strategy I use to make this $1 million+ a year in the U.S. Market, which should work even more profitable, like 2 to 3 times more profitable than anything outside the U.S. to make this money consistently for our clients on just about every account that we run here. This is I want to say, definitely in the top 5 go-to strategies I'm using for every single client every single time because it's so consistent and it makes so much money in terms of the effort put in and money out. Okay, got it? So anyway, I'll get started here on explaining everything to you, and basically by the end of the video you'll know that it works, how much it works, and how to actually go execute it for your business. So first I'll start with a quick prelude. What is the search terms report and how most people think about it? Search term report, to start out with, what that is it's a tool that you can Google, how to find search terms report in Google or i.e. Bing. But what it's intended to do is tell you, so there's 2 different things. People get commonly confused when they start out, when they run PPC ads on Google Ads or Bing. There's keywords, and then there's search terms. Keywords are what you bid on. You tell Google, I sell red shoes, therefore I want to target the word red shoes, buy red shoes, best red shoes for sale, whatever. And then ultimately, based upon what they call these keyword match types, whether you put those keywords in brackets or quotes itself, brackets, quotes, and that is right, or by itself. It used to be with the plus symbols, that got phased out. That Google will basically give you a customer like the keywords that you put there, but not exactly. And there used to be with the brackets, they made it simple, whereas if you put buy red shoes in brackets, they would just give you that. That is no more. You put brackets buy red shoes, then it could be red shoes for sale. It's totally not congruent anymore. And so this strategy is more relevant than ever because of that. Mainly because you're going to get more ideas automatically, but also ultimately at the same time, with the strategy, it can fix some of that actually. That's a side benefit to what I'm going to give you other than just the straight up making money part and the main features of this strategy. But basically, the search terms report is supposed to tell you what you're getting for your money, bottom line. And obviously, you use it how you want. But of that, here's how most people are using it. The big one, the first one in order of kind of importance here, see if the match types work. So I mentioned you could use brackets or phrase, the quotes. Brackets would get you the words as closest to what you put in for a keyword. Brackets are a little bit less close to the keyword. So instead of, if your keyword's buy red shoes, instead of having buy red shoes for sale, you would have keywords red shoes, affordable would be your phrase, if you will, a little bit further out. That's not exactly. You could search what the differences between match types, or, you know, red shoe manufacturers would be the broad match keyword. But basically what they're doing is, especially with the changes in 2020 that happened last year, that with it being a lot more loose, it's more loosely matching, you know, what you wanted versus what you actually get with the search terms and the keywords you put in. If they need to use brackets or phrase or the quotes itself, 99% of the time I'm using the brackets or the quotes, by the way. Broad match basically is a waste of time. To see which one of those they should use, look at the search terms. Oh, okay, well, there's too much garbage coming through. I'll use brackets instead of quotes. Or I'm not getting enough volume. I'll use quotes instead of brackets. That's the big one. Second one is see if the keywords are working at all. Of course, if you're not getting quite enough leads or sales, you look at the search terms report, you see that there's a bunch of garbage in there in general. And if there is, in terms of irrelevant searches that you're paying for, you just shut it down and you target whole different keywords. Maybe the keywords itself is the problem, not so much the match types, which is another way to look at it. The other thing is looking for negative keyword ideas. So negative keywords are, of course, if you do not want cheap red shoes, but you sell red shoes, you could put a negative keyword, cheap, so that your keyword, you know, buy red shoes, will not trigger any searches with the word cheap. Buy cheap red shoes like that. If you aren't the lowest price vendor, that would be to your advantage. And so I actively try to add negative keywords that I already know that I don't want ahead of time, but a lot of people will use the search terms report and see, okay, that was a bad search, therefore I'll add that as a negative keyword. And Google's interface makes it easy for people to do the kind of the lazier approach that way, where you're going to waste money first to tell you what's not working, and click on it, and then it'll say add into negative keyword list, and you do it, and then over time you add a few hundred negative terms, or thousands actually over time. A lot of accounts that I see to get really good results in a lot of markets now, that's what they're doing and how they use it. Not always people do that because they're busy. And the last thing, if you're lucky, for more they're using the search terms report for more keyword ideas, which is the big opportunity that people are missing and what I'm talking about on this video, and to focus on certain terms more specifically. Another thing that you can do in the search terms report is you can add that search term itself as a keyword, and you can put that keyword in an exact match so that you can see the performance of that individual search term that's being triggered by your original keyword, and then you can adjust your bid up or down based upon how that's doing. And that's actually quite an effective strategy, and I use that one. But what I'm talking about, or I'm going to talk about here next, or about in terms of the strategy itself, is going to be talking about using the search terms there in your search terms report for keyword ideas. And so I'm going to get into the methodology of how you're going to use that for ideas and to make this $1 million plus a year. So it's actually not complicated, but it's something that people just overlook, and it should not be overlooked. So anyway, I'm going to tell you my process for doing this. So the method I've been using to make millions of dollars a year already with search terms report data is we're using it to find the missing, if you will, keywords that we should be targeting, but not so much missing, because you could put keywords in your account and then that'll cover everything, but it's not covering it very precisely. If you watched my other videos, I mentioned every single time that I set up my campaigns, I have an ad for every single keyword. So if somebody's looking for the cheapest red shoes, well, that's exactly what my ad says, because that's going to get you, instead of a 3% click-through rate, an 8% click-through rate, and you're going to pay, instead of $1 per click, you're going to pay 30 cents per click. That's how it works with the Google quality score system. But with the search terms report, I'm literally going to take the terms in there that I know can work, and I'm going to make a whole new ad group, which will allow me to have a whole new dedicated ad for that search term if it works. So instead of now getting 3% click-through rate on that particular search term that was close to my keyword I already had but didn't have yet, I'm now going to get 8% on it, and that expands the amount of volume you're going to get on terms that are more profitable than usual, which is your first way you could profit from that. The second, of course, is your cost per click is going to go down on that term because you're going to have now a higher click-through rate. And third of all, if that term converts at a higher rate, which it should, if it has a longer, what they call longer tail, or more specific, more terms, not 2 words, but probably 3 or even 4 or 5 terms, that'll usually convert better. And so you want all the clicks you can from that, which is a third way you could profit by using this strategy. So in other words, it just helps you take in what you should be having custom ads set up for, and then you go ahead and do it, which sounds simple, but I can guarantee you it works every single time you do it, and it's just a gimme way to make a ton of money. Millions of dollars a year in sales if you set it up, and you actually especially do this over a course of a couple of years where you run your campaigns and then you're constantly using that search term data the way that I mentioned here to your advantage 100%. Now the type of businesses this actually works best for is like niche product categories. If you sell a product in a smaller niche, this you find out because there's thousands and thousands basically of ways of people searching for the product that are profitable, and so that'll help you find the data. For a local business, at least for me, I'm pretty well able to figure out what most of the keywords are going to be up front because I look at SpyFu, I use Google Keyword Tool. I'm going to use what is called a permutation generator to take all the keywords I found using those two tools, all competitor terms, and then through Google Keyword Tool, and then mix and match forward, backward, taking words out, seeing what will work, and then also using a thesaurus. And with that, I can pretty much get most of the terms that way through that process. I run a test campaign to see what's eligible, and then I build the campaign out, 1 ad per keyword, to get maximum results from that campaign. So with that, and then also if you're like a national service provider, by the way, I'm mainly focusing on terms like, I'll do the same process there, but I'm only focusing on like agency, firm, service, company. And with that, because that's the traffic that basically is profitable. I don't want everything, and I'm fairly conservative with it. Not to say anything else can't work, but we usually keep it conservative. So the product or e-commerce doesn't even have to be e-commerce. Just selling products in a niche category, this is extremely profitable, as you will see in my case studies that I'm going to give you in a minute. But so anyway, what you do, here's the system. You go look at your search terms report, and then you pick out all the terms, if you're doing e-commerce, that basically make sense, that have made a sale before. If it's made one single sale, of course you have to have your tracking set up, which it really pays to set up tracking as early as possible, not wait till later on, because your money, the true value of running the ads is the data that tells you what's working versus not working, because so that you can pick out these gem keywords from the search terms report and create a list of potential keywords. If you're doing non-e-commerce and you're not so good at finding every possible variation of the way a customer could search for your local service or national service, you're going to do the same thing, anything that's converted into a lead, but you're also going to have an extra filter and make sure you filter out stuff where people are looking for a competitor that got to your site and called and didn't realize it wasn't a competitor. So the terms actually have to make sense, whereas in the e-commerce space, if they bought, it doesn't really matter, because nobody's going to be completely so clueless as to pay for something they didn't read, basically. So you get those terms, and then you're going to run a test campaign. You literally take all the terms you found, put it into a campaign, turn it on for 5 minutes, see everything that says not enough search volume to bid on, take those out, and then what you have left, you're going to build into a new search term converter campaign where, like I told you before, you want a customized ad for every single term that you found. And then you profit handsomely from that. You run the campaigns in your account a little longer, and you go back once a month and you see what other search terms you found, and then create unique ads for every single one of those. And that gets you 2 to 3 times the click, more like 3 times the click-through rate on your ad, and every single potential keyword that you had, you make it 3 times as much between those 3 factors I mentioned before. Cutting the costs per click, getting more clicks on the most profitable searches that you're getting clicked on more often, and converting more because you're getting more clicks from the ones that are more profitable and has more conversion rate potential as well. So anyway, that in a nutshell, that's the method. You will of course write a custom ad for every keyword. Now the methodology for that, though, I'm going to, literally speaking, the headline should say literally the search term that converted, or the which is your keyword. A slight variation of that I'll sometimes use is like buy and then insert keyword. So I know it doesn't sound fancy, but I've done this hundreds of times now. You cannot beat telling the user exactly what they want, as long as it's not like garbled text or something like that. Just go with what works. Obviously test, you're always curious, test everything, but that works 90+% of the time. And if you're a local business, I'm going to do keyword, i.e. your search term you found, in city. And so if it's Denver, keyword in Denver. If you're in Denver and you do look up information about my local campaigns, I'm not just putting Denver, I'm breaking Denver down to all the sub-cities 10K population or more, so that if they're from Colorado Springs, that it can say keyword in Colorado Springs, so that people know that we serve their market. Because any small confusion or question that people ask themselves like that, you're just going to tank your conversion rates. Instead of getting 10% conversion rate, you might get 5. That's how much it matters. Same thing with the phone number. If the area code does not match the area code of the user where they're from, they're going to say, I don't know if they're local. I'm clicking back to Google. People are little spoiled babies, basically. So if you want to make a huge amount of money and beat your competitors, because this is what it's about, Google charges as much as they can get away with, and if you can squeeze more than the other guys out of the potential clicks in your market, you're going to win default every time. So that's what you do for your headline. The rest of the ads, the headline too, by the way, I'm doing a offer, like I talk about this on other videos, sale promotion campaigns where you're doing, 10% off in July, and then you're out, something like that. Or the second best would be if you can't do that for whatever reason, just put your differentiator there. Immediate response, 60-second response, or 30-year warranty. Find out what's going to get what people want in your market and try to deliver it and try to put it in the headline too. That's the formula that I use over and over again and consistently works. So, like I said, in a lot of the local or national services basically, or local product business even sometimes, the keywords, I'm going to be able to find them all ahead of time for the most part. But for different product companies, I'm making out like a bandit because, again, like I said, there's thousands of different ways that people are searching. And if you give them an ad that told them what they were searching for, and there's no other ads even close to what they searched for, your ad has literally just what they wanted, you're getting the 10% click-through rates versus the other guy who's paying literally triple now the cost for the same click, for the same customer, and it converts at a higher rate because there's less confusion. That person's more qualified when they get to your site. You're making a crap load of money from this. So basically, I'll get into the case studies here. So, and by the way, I'll add on to this if you want to be particularly adamant about getting the most control and profit from this. Because of how the keyword matching, as I mentioned before, with like the brackets and the quotes around your keywords, how that may trigger something else, and you're wondering how that if I put the actual 5-word phrase that converted as a keyword and create a custom ad for it, how do I know that my ad that I just made for it will trigger for that keyword that I put in there, which was the old search term that I found? Versus the other ad that I had, and the answer is you use negative keyword siloing. I have a video about this, but basically you write down and you find the differentiation between all your search terms. If all your search terms, none of them have the word cheap in it, but you have one that does, you add negative keyword cheap to all the other ad groups at the ad group level for all the other ad groups, which would be one keyword per ad group, so that if the keyword has that way, so that if they are actually looking for that exact search term, that's the ad that Google has to show. Okay? So very simple there to take care of that. And so your campaign has, right when you launch it, negative keywords in each ad group basically to indicate that, unless it's, for sure that they typed in this, I want them to show this ad every single time. Don't, guess. I want this ad for this keyword, nothing else. That's the way that you can do it. For case study, so here I basically tracked how much yearly revenue our I call them search term converter campaigns are making us for a series of clients that we have. For paint seller, doing $1 million+ in sales just from this methodology. And this is for a business that makes probably 3 million a year. So there's, I mean, basically most of, and it just keeps growing. What you should expect is this methodology to keep making you more. Like I said, if you keep going back every month, because, you know, for like a paint product even, there's tens of thousands of ways that people can search for the product. So you'll keep growing your, you know, amount of profitability and ROI your account will make per dollar spent on ads if you just keep going and doing this. So I encourage you, don't stop once you see that it's working. Try it out on a small scale, see that I'm right, and then keep going with it. And there's no reason why you can't do as much work as you were doing before or close to, and just keep making more margin or profit. The next one is a custom doghouse business. So really unique business here, selling a product. Again, like I said, it seems to work the best in these type of product, niche products businesses. In this particular case, it was just 500K plus a year. So it ranges, and I put plus because it varies year to year. But it's a smaller niche. You're talking about but again, that's a third to a half of the revenue. Now the next one is luxury custom mailboxes. So they make a very high-end mailbox for high-end homes. With this, we're getting 2 million plus a year just from the search term converter campaigns. This is for a business that ranges between $5 and $10 million a year in revenue. It bounces around, but you know, and you keep in mind the ROI from these campaigns based upon the rest of the account is like 3 times. So not only is it making up a large chunk of the profit of what your ads generate, let's say 20 to even sometimes half of your revenue, it's triple the profitability as your original ads. You could think of the original ads you almost run just as a way to generate the search term converter campaigns that you're going to do for yourself here. So you pay your dues. It's not, I've said many times on my videos, it's not about if PPC will work. It's a matter of setting up your tracking, seeing how it works, identifying what the traffic is worth and what numbers you need to hit your 8-to-1 return or whatever, and then adjusting what you're willing to pay for the clicks on a keyword by keyword basis to get the ROI that you're looking for. And so it may not be the volume you want. Well, then you can move on to another traffic source or another campaign or another strategy, and then you just do the same thing there. And that's how you build up a multi-million-dollar a year campaign for yourself, starting with very little money. I've started many campaigns with $1,000 a month, and it's now spending $100K a month and generating multi-million dollars a year in sales. The next one, I have 5 case studies that I looked up where results were here. Custom sports flooring. So they have like kind of, if you want to think about it, cookie cutter flooring, like basketball courts and stuff where you don't, it's not as, doing it the manual way. I don't know the phrase behind it, but they got like these squares that they can put in. A lot of the sports fields are this way. Tennis courts, you know, it doesn't matter. Like handball courts doesn't really matter. Well, and that's a high volume business. We were doing 4 million plus a year just from the search term converter. So that's the biggest one that I found actually. But you're talking about a $10 to $20 a million a year business with this still, but it'll keep going. I think realistically, based upon looking at the trends, half of your actual revenue could come from the search term converter campaigns once you've had several years to run your campaign. Let's say 3 to 5 years, because more of it's going to be picked up by the search term converter campaigns as you go along. Now the last one is just a sign company. They make custom signs that go inside the office. You could think almost like raised letter signs. There's a few other types. That wasn't the only thing they did, but you know, in that particular situation, $1 million plus. And I'm trying to think of the revenue. This is I'm not working with them today, but it had to be between 3 and 5 million a year, something like that at the time. So again, depending on how far you're into the process, you're going to be closer to a half. You'll start out at closer to the 10% range in terms of what that search term converter contributes to your overall pull on your ads. And then obviously then with that, just keeps your whole investment just keeps getting more and more and more and more profitable the longer you do it, because you're able to get higher quality scores. And of course, on top of that, you have more data that tells you exactly what everything is worth, what every single keyword's worth, what every single state's worth. As I've mentioned, that's an important thing, to bid a different amount for each region that you're targeting or city or area that you're targeting. for each age demographic, income demographic, which you can all do in your Google Ads account, your results really should compound. They should go up and to the right, and if they're not, then you study up, because ultimately, if you can't do that, at a certain point, there's only so much you can get from a market. But until you're number one, at least spender in terms of the ads, well, you got work to do. So anyway, just a small bonus, I wanted to mention you could beyond. So that's the strategy as a whole. This is the potential. If your search term converters, if you like what you've seen, you're impatient, you want more results now before I get more search term data. Take your search terms, use what I mentioned before, a permutation tool. So basically, you're going to take all your terms, you can Google keyword permutation tool, and it'll take all your search terms and it'll put them forward, backwards, take off words, and find all possible variations and combinations of the search terms you have. Then you're going to run a test campaign in Google and see what's eligible to run, like I mentioned before that I do and that you should do when you start out to save you time in building your campaign, given that you have to have an ad for every single keyword to do it right and really capitalize on this. But with that, before I do that though, I'm gonna pull out a thesaurus, and instead of saying, okay, best custom doghouses is a search term that I didn't have a keyword for before. What's different synonyms for best? And then I'll look all those up and I'll put that into a file. I use obviously an assistant for this, because this can take tens of hours, and don't be scared by that. It's, you see what the potential is. You obviously can get data entry people to do this very inexpensively, but best, top, pinnacle, you find out. And then with the permutation tool, you'll be able to find all the very, very close derivatives, as I call it, to the search terms that basically should work the same or very, very close to the same, and not having to wait to get all your search term data and pay for it, which you're going to be able to generate your own quote-unquote search term data that you would have gotten anyway. So that's just a small side thing you could do for yourself, but that in a nutshell goes over the strategy itself, how you're going to use search term data, how you're going to use your search term report to generate millions of dollars a year in sales for your business, of course, more so in some businesses than others. If you liked the video, I have a ton of other money-making PPC strategy videos on this channel. I also got a blog at garytppc.com/blog where I personally have written. They go step by step into the instructions on how I build my campaigns, if you prefer information or along those lines. And if you have any questions or concerns about this, leave me a comment. I get back to every person who leaves me a comment on this channel. I don't care what the question may be. So hope you enjoy it. Hope this becomes a part of your strategy, as really hope that you can take advantage of this strategy, given how successful it has been for me, and ultimately, for sure be just as or at least somewhat successful for you at some degree.